So Bob, you asked me where we are with the back objects cache. Um, we have to think. We turned it on um, Tuesday, I guess, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on what time zone you're in, and um, that went well. But I came in the morning and I looked at the graphs and something looked very wrong to me. Like I thought this is not supposed to happen. So now that we have more traffic on the thing, I found a bug. And there's one server where this bug is particularly noticeable. So I've been talking mainly about that one. So that's file 09. I've mainly been talking about file 09, but really there's a bug in the cache itself. Um, it's a bit ironic because I've been going on and on about how this cache needed to have certain safety features, and one of these safety features is just not working. And this is what happens when the safety feature doesn't work. But the good thing is that it's like one guard statement somewhere. Like the fix is very small, and it was at one point the code had the property, but I never wrote a test that asserted the property, and I was refactoring and trying to make everything simpler, and then I ended up with something that has the same effect from a user perspective, but not from a system perspective. Um, so the problem is that the general problem is back pressure. This is the safety feature, and that is that we don't do work that the user is not consuming, because otherwise a user can do a cheap request and then we do a lot of work and we burn up the server. This is just a general. This is a very important principle, and I think this is one of the reasons why we can even host all this clone traffic, is that people can download it fast enough. Because if they could download it fast enough, all these upload back processes and related stuff would be very bad for your Gitly server. So yeah, the system doesn't run well without back pressure. So the bug is that if and this is, it's really silly when you think about it. The bug is that if a user hangs up in the middle of a request, the cache doesn't feel back pressure anymore. So it's just like, woohoo, I can write all the bytes I want. And then when it's done writing all the bytes at once, it tries to close the file, and then it gets an error saying, yeah, you know what, the user went away, we don't want this file. And then it immediately gets thrown away. Nobody else sees the file, and we don't keep it on disk for too long. But in this moment, since the user hung up and the cache is done writing the file, we did a lot of unnecessary work. So one problem is that
And
at
the
that point,
other, if other users were working, were waiting for that thing to be finished.
oh no, that's not how that part of the cache does work. So if one user comes in, requests something, that creates a cache entry, and then if a second user comes in and wants the same thing while the thing is still busy, they become attached to the same cache entry. And then if one of them leaves, nothing bad happens. So it's a reference count. So only when the number of users interested in a cache entry drops to 0, do we say it's bad and we don't want it anymore. Um, and that part is working fine. But what I found is that on file 09 there is a repo of 1.7 gigabytes, and for some reason, well, it gets cloned frequently, and some users just hang up after a couple of megabytes, and then the cache goes, woohoo! I've got a gigabyte and a half more of data. Let me quickly write all of that to disk. So the disk writes per second are way higher than you'd expect, and also the total size stored in the cache is higher than you'd expect. It's not out of control, but yeah, and I noticed this because we have a gauge that says how many bytes were generated, put into the cache per second, and how many bytes were read from the cache per second. And the number of bytes read should always be, the number of bytes put into the second should never be more than the bytes read from the second. And it was like 4 times more put into the second, and the cache than was read from the cache. And when I saw that, I immediately thought uh, this is not supposed to be possible. Then I had to find the bug. And going back to this particular server, if you look at the aptX graph, you see that it took a hit the moment the cache got turned on because of this phenomenon, because we're writing all these bytes as fast as possible that nobody's going to read because the clients hang up. Um, but it's not, it's just below, I mean, just above the threshold where it triggers an incident. And but if something else happens, then it dips. So we had one incident on this server because this happened, but um, that aptX line is like a noticeable amount lower than it should be. Um, that's yeah. So that's roughly what happened. But then Yeah, I guess I was hoping to talk to Matt about that last night, but then we were in an incident about the security, unrelated security thing, and so I haven't even. I just got it to work. I don't even know what the current status is of file 09 or what we did with the cache.
Is there any conclusions that you already managed to draw from having this on for 24 hours in production when it comes to the impact we are seeing?
I was again. I just came into work and I haven't
by
looked
the
at
way,
it.
and the answer can also be no. I haven't had the time to take a look at it. I'm just asking, curious.
Yeah, I was looking yesterday, and things looked a lot better on Canario 1. But I now think that all instances are suffering from this safety mechanism not working. But let me just quickly pull up Canario 1. And yeah, it's better. It's still not amazing. So it got turned on somewhere around here. And here's the weekend. And these were the sort of things we were seeing before. But this dip, I don't like this dip. But the fact that we're not getting things like this it's circumstantial, but it is a good sign. Yeah, so that was a week. That was last week, and this, yeah, this is the point where we turn on the cache. So yeah, it's a bit too soon to tell.
And the status of that bug, I know that you submitted it at GitLab. Is it like blocked somewhere or merged or deployed?
It's in review.
In
I
review.
don't
Okay.
know. It needs 2 approvals. That's their process. It has 1 approval. The other reviewer hasn't looked at it yet.
Okay.
But I only submitted it yesterday morning.
No.
And I don't know if we're going to. I don't know what with security things going on. What are deployments?
We still deploy as normal. It's just that we
Okay.
don't make it publicly available.
But we can still mix the 2 things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We made
okay.
this junky system that just merges things left and right and
Hope
cross
for
our
the
fingers
best.
that everything is good.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
So that means that yeah, the moment it first needs to get merged into Gitly. I don't know how the part of the process works where we take Gitly commits and integrate them into the main repo. I don't know how often that happens.
Automatic. It's automatic. There is a merge request that automatically gets created for GitLab Rails, which bumps the SHA. And only if the build fails, someone needs to do something manually. But if the build is successful, it gets merged automatically taken into
How often does it run?
I can take a look at the schedule pipeline, but it's fairly often. Like it's not once a day or something like that. It's fairly
it's
often.
more than once a day. Yeah. So
yeah.
First it needs to get reviewed, merged, then it needs to go through that, and then it needs to hop on to the next deployment pipeline.
Okay, that sounds good. Is it dangerous to keep the feature on, or are you confident it's fine to keep it on this way?
Yeah, that's the hard question I hope to discuss with Matt that I didn't get to discuss. It looks like it's okay, but on that one server, like if we start having more incidents, then I think we need to at least turn it off there. In general, it seems like we're fine, like the infrastructure can handle it, but it's a safety feature that's there for a reason that is not working right now. So it'd be better to have it on. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I just checked. Once an hour, we update components.
Yeah. So like that today or tomorrow, it should catch a deployment pipeline.
Awesome. Exciting stuff. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Did we put anything else on the agenda in the meantime? No.
Cool. Well, in that case, let's end the call if no one else wants to discuss anything else.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay.
Have a good one.